Okay, I think all of you know me. I'm Luana Nissan, the program manager, service leadership programs manager for K-Kids and Builders Club and Action Club. And I'm sorry to say Lisa Pyron is not with us today, but very glad to say that a very good colleague and kind person, a kind teammate has joined us, Matt Ellis. So Matt, I imagine folks know you, but if you'd introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Matt Ellis. I am the program manager for Key Club. We get your kids moving up the chain. We definitely want them to join Key Club. The same as Luana is program manager for K Kids of Builders Club, I manage Key Club. I work with Luana here in Indianapolis.
And Matt's going to be kind enough to let folks in and watch the chat. And then add some information to the chat box. So if you hear me referring to a few different places on the website or other information, Matt's going to drop that into the chat box. But I'll follow up as I have in the past with some information for all DAs about today's presentation. So as you noticed when you signed up, we're going to be talking about new club growth, as well as just kind of giving you a heads up that it is awards season, awards submission season, and annual achievement report season. So wanted to let you know about some deadlines and where to find some resources so that you can pass that on and encourage your clubs to participate. So first, let's get to some information and hopefully some discussion around starting new clubs. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And if you have any questions along the way, please do put them in the chat. Okay. So new club growth. Can you all see the top of the screen? Or is my banner obstructing that for you?
I see that it says starting new clubs at the top, and it's not obstructing.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Okay, so while there are many responsibilities, many people that can get clubs started, district administrators are the primary drivers responsible for opening and supporting new clubs through that chartering process and beyond. As a DA, you have many responsibilities, of course, but related to club growth, there are a few responsibilities to think about. Remember that growth means adding clubs, but you also want to make sure that the new clubs are thriving, not struggling. This year, we've had a number of particularly K-Kids clubs start, and you want to remember that they're going to need some support as time goes on. So these kind of key responsibilities are identifying potential host institutions. And of course, schools are the primary place that clubs, K-Kids clubs exist in. But of course, there are community organizations, libraries, and other types of agencies to think about as you're thinking about appealing to them to start K-Kids clubs. You want to share information about the benefits, and we'll get into some of those benefits from different perspectives, and then follow up to see what their decisions are. Matt, thinking about matching those potential host sites, finding out what their goals are, and helping them understand those benefits, but then matching those potential host sites with local Kiwanis clubs. You can facilitate a meeting rather than just connecting them by email, but then kind of checking back to encourage that a relationship starts to get built between the Kiwanis Club and those sites if it looks like there's some promising connections there. When there is not a Kiwanis Club available, clubs can still get started. So just to not think that that's the only way that clubs can be chartered. Some organizations or schools sponsor clubs themselves and pay for that and have it in their budget. So not to think that you're totally limited if a Kiwanis club is not interested or not available in the local area. And then, of course, the reminder to check on the clubs that you've started. Finding a local Kiwanis club to sponsor a new K-Kids is, of course, preferred, as I mentioned. But kind of thinking about what else is needed in starting a K-Kids club is important. So, of course, I mentioned that local organization, the local site that would host the SLP, and also paying attention to them talking about whether or not they would have the number of students needed. We encourage, or we say that to be a K-Kids club, you need to have 15 students. Are there K-Kids clubs without that number? There are. But for a club to thrive, really 15 students or more is ideal. We have clubs that have 150 students and they involve them in different ways, or they have multiple meetings a month. So that's kind of interesting. And then, of course, talked about the Kiwanis sponsoring club, a Kiwanis advisor. Let's talk about that a little bit. When we met at the SLP Education Conference, we talked a bit about about the DAs asking for a description, a really kind of brief but useful flyer or pamphlet that describes a faculty advisor and what their responsibilities are. We are actually going to be working on that in the next month or two so that you can start the new kind of recruiting new faculty advisors with that type of description. We're also going to be creating one for Kiwanis advisors. The Kiwanis advisor is an important role. It's an important role to connect their sponsoring Kiwanis club to the K-Kids club. It's an important role to kind of help a faculty advisor, if they're not a Kiwanian, really understand what Kiwanis culture is and what it is to be part of the Kiwanis family, and to help them encourage students as they graduate at that level to move into the next level, which is Builders Club. So I will also say that it's important to Kiwanis International. Kiwanis advisors can serve other roles that are really helpful to us, and that's really being a liaison with the club for us to keep track of making sure that the club's renewal fees are paid, and that club secretaries are not just paying the renewal fees, but also entering the member counts into their system, into their dashboard. That is essential for us for a number of reasons. It helps us decide how much materials to get printed. But more importantly, if they don't enter a number, the clubs will not receive their materials. So for a number of reasons, we want Kiwanis advisors to be involved, to be informed, and to really help, each of the kind of partners in the relationship. And that is the K-Kids Club, the Kiwanis Club, and Kiwanis International as well. And then, of course, we expect that any host sites that you're recruiting will agree to following Kiwanis youth protection policies and other policies, and using the materials that we've produced. Some strategies around kind of growing clubs. School districts and communities without K-Kids, where builders clubs and key clubs exist, are really great opportunities to help create a elementary school through high school experience, service leadership experience that is a kind of brand and a known product that communities recognize, that school districts recognize. And so helping to fill that out with missing service leadership program lines is one of those first opportunities, of course. So a place that doesn't have a K-Kids, but does have a builders club, that's a natural place to kind of build down, or with Key Club, the same thing, kind of to appeal to the district to build K-Kids and builders clubs. School districts without service or leadership development. Let me talk a little bit about that. I think some of you know that I was a service learning and community service director in K-12 schools before I, as one of my past positions. I was also a trainer for a number of schools around these topics. Not all schools have the resources and the time to really create their own programs and the expertise in-house or even in the district. And so what we bring to a school district in particularly, or even to an independent school or religious schools or youth organizations, is an expertise and a package program with adults that care about kids and have a 100+ year history of serving kids. So that is a really powerful messaging and a great sell. So there are schools out there that don't have, particularly service leadership connected to each other programming. So that's another thing to look for. Youth organizations or community centers or youth centers that have members that are young, primary school, elementary school age, but don't have service and leadership programs as well. And then communities where Kiwanis clubs are active and really well known. In those places, the Kiwanis brand really means something. And so that's really a place where you should be able to get traction from community leaders to assist with the building of clubs. So these are just kind of some strategies as you think about where the low-hanging fruit is. So asking Kiwanis clubs to help. This is, also, the Kiwanis clubs are an asset to you as administrators. Engaging those clubs that serve schools with terrific kids or bugs programs. A number of administrators and advisors have told us that's been really a fruitful place where an elementary school or primary school knows Kiwanis. They know kind of how useful the programming is, and it is a good place to then build the relationship to another level to help sponsor, a K-Kids club there. Similarly, asking clubs that are sponsoring a builders club or a Key club to either start by taking on terrific kids or the Bugs program, or specifically to sponsor a K-Kids could be a really good way of them rounding out how they're serving kids in their community from really young age through high school. And then you seem to have a really rich asset in Kiwanis clubs across the country and across and internationally. Because you have some members that are retired, happen to be retired teachers. They're probably drawn to the mission of Kiwanis. And so, to serve kids. And so there are a lot of retired or even current teachers in the midst in your clubs. And so having them assist you with pitching the creation of new clubs in the school that they're affiliated with or the school district that they're affiliated with is another way that kind of Kiwanis clubs and Kiwanians can help. So SLPs really, having SLPs really benefit Kiwanis clubs. And I imagine a number of you could tell this story. And if we had more time, it would be great to hear them. And if you want to put in the chat, if you have kind of some stories to tell around this, it would be really, it would be great for me to connect with you afterwards. I'd really like to write an article actually about this, but kind of some high level things are that, that having an SLP, hosting an SLP, or sponsoring an SLP helps build Kiwanis's, visibility in the community, not just in schools, but in the community in general. It shows that they're a leader, that they're being a leader in the community for kids. It also provides, with that visibility, it also provides a stronger connection, really, in relationship to the community schools, but also to the adults that see Kiwanis doing that kind of work and having that kind of relationship. And of course, it also builds a relationship with the youth in the community that might not be connected to your Kiwanis clubs at all. So when we think about the pipeline for future Kiwanians, why not start really young, right? And I think that's why a lot of you are in this work. And then it really helps Kiwanians have an opportunity to have meaningful relationships, intergenerational relationships, and activities, which which people of all generations really, really love. And we hear from the students that they really love that connection to Kiwanians when they get together in doing service activities and also presenting at clubs, and especially if it's an ongoing relationship. So if you do have any examples kind of those types of stories in clubs, please do put your name, and your email address or your name, I know who you are, in the chat box. I'd love to connect with you afterwards. So one of the things that that I've talked about before, and I hope that you've heard, is that that learning is really important in our revision of the Builders Club materials, and you'll see more of the kind of learn and learning language, and not just in our messaging, but also in the updated K-Kids materials that your clubs will have for next year. One of the biggest and recent changes over the last 10 years or so in K-12 education is that there is a significant move away from memorizing content and towards building skills. As SLP members participate in club activities and events, as they have over, since our SLPs have been around, and really since service has been around, we know that kids develop skills in doing good service and good leadership, and activities that involve them in teamwork. So it's important to recognize that our SLPs help build important social and emotional skills, and schools are talking about that, because that has to do with self-regulation, interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships, and all kinds of things, but also that our clubs build hard skills, like quantifiable knowledge-based skills, like budgeting and creating, developing, and giving presentations, like project planning. Gosh, that'll help them in all types of, professionally and personally, and organizing, goal setting. In the goal setting section for the new materials and previous materials for K-Kids, there's kind of goal setting, right? And for Builders Club, if you look at the new materials, it's developed into SMART goal setting, which is something that kids will learn, in college and in professions. So we just really want you all to understand, and it's a selling point, particularly for schools, that we are teaching and focusing on skill building. So another really important selling point, and it's really why kids are involved in K-Kids and Builders Club and Key Club. Kids really want to make an impact. They want to help. They want to help in their schools. They want to help in their communities. So how does having a K-Kids club in a school really benefit the community? I mean, at its base, kind of most important function in some ways, it fills real needs and improves communities by its contributions of time, talent, and treasure. So that's time by volunteering, treasure, the different types of resources, money, donations of all kinds of essential goods, time, talent, treasure. Oh, and of course, I'm sorry, with the time, kids' talents. So it also, when we talk about, you know, what kind of projects can our clubs do, it's around what we call service, which is really kind of hands-on doing things. Service, fundraising, so giving money, and advocacy. And so a lot of times when our students and our clubs learn about an issue, they help educate their not just the school about the issue, but their families about the issue and the community about the issue. So raising awareness about all kinds of community needs and issues. And then kids that go through, that are involved in our clubs at all levels, generally have increased educational attainment. Their grades are better, their engagement in school is better, and decreased detrimental behaviors. That's pretty consistent for kids really that are highly involved in service. And then they help connect organizations to their schools. I'm sorry, K-Kids Clubs helps connect organizations to the schools and it's an opportunity to connect them to young people, our young people. The cost of sponsoring a K-Kids, as you know, we've removed we changed last year to remove the banners from chartering. And so for North American and Caribbean and Tier A countries, it's $300 a year to charter. And that shows you it depends on what country internationally you're chartering in. So the cost could be $300 or $200. And then the annual dues is $215 in the US, the Caribbean, and Canada. And then depending on if you're in a Tier A, B, or C, it's $50 or $25. And you should know that the reason why there is a difference there is that the countries internationally, other than the Caribbean and Canada, do not receive materials every year, just in chartering kits. So when there was a price change this last year for the annual fee, we heard a lot of discussion from DAs and advisors around the cost increase and what the cost increase was for. And so I'd like to just give you a heads up that you will see from us this summer and the beginning of the year some information in terms of marketing information, maybe an infographic that really explains what the annual fee is for. There's a perception that it only covers materials, and because, you know, one of the things that we said was that the increase in cost was due to publication, shipping, and printing of materials. That was only that's only a partial thing that is covered by the annual fees. So this gives you a sense more of kind of what that fee covers, and it's important for you as district administrators to understand kind of what kind of support Kiwanis International is providing to clubs. So liability insurance that covers clubs that get off campus is incredibly important, right? That's a plus, and that's really important, particularly as we believe in youth protection. Advisor training, DA training, but for clubs, advisor training, the creation of new materials and programs and events, the monthly newsletter and other types of communications, youth protection training, website resources. All of these things are important to being to providing good learning experiences and good engagement experiences for our members, and also to preparing advisors to do the work that they do. So, and to stay on top of what issues are important in our societies. So that was a lot of talking at you. I'm going to pause here, and I'm wondering if we could have a conversation, and if we can kind of start first with the question where you found the most kind of interest in starting new clubs in your districts. And if you could share your name and your experience, kind of how long you've been a DA, that will help with the conversation. So who would like to start?
This is Michelle Hoffner. I can start.
Thanks, Michelle.
So I'm from the Rocky Mountain District. This is my first year in the role as an administrator. And really my first experience with K-Kids and Builders Club that I'm also working on, because our Kiwanis Club is actually fairly young. So the most interest in our district has actually come from Kiwanis clubs themselves that have been re-energized. So not necessarily from the communities that are maybe in need, but in clubs that are sort of finding newer members that are looking to get more involved with the students, and just folks that are re-energized is the best word. We have some really old clubs that have found new legs that want to get back out in the communities, and that seems to be where we have the most interest and success right now.
Thank you, Michelle. So, so you have assets in those members and those clubs that are excited about kind of doing that work of helping to start clubs.
Correct. They're reaching out to the schools and doing all the legwork and trying to make it happen.
Great. Thank you.
I can go now. This is Becky Matson.
Hi, Becky.
Hi. So I'm Wisconsin Upper Michigan. Fortunately for me, I had close contact with one of a very active member in the Monroe Kiwanis Club. And part of it was she had her own child was at one of the elementary schools, but their club literally started 4 K-Kids in 4 different schools. So they are, just pumped. But again, it's having the people on the ground in those Kiwanis clubs that are going to be there to support a faculty advisor, and it's being able to get into that school and develop a partnership with the principal to start with. And I just got done presenting at one of our midwinters about the SLPs in general. And the thing I reminded people was, our SLPs are different from other clubs in that, like, I think about the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, that kind of thing, is that Kiwanis isn't there to do come in and do their agenda. It's really about service to that school or that nonprofit, and then the community and that building of leadership skills. So we have some selling points that other organizations do not have. But the challenge has been just this year now, people have been allowed to get back into the elementary schools to volunteer. I was in first grade today from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And the thing is, now that schools are opening up again, it's a little bit easier to get in, but people are rebuilding. And the other thing, I think one of the biggest challenges is finding that a faculty advisor. At the elementary level, I know in my community, there are stipends for high school teachers to do, to be Key Club faculty advisors. Builders Club, we had a partnership coordinator that did it. So it was part of their job, helping with clubs. But at the elementary school, it's really, from my experience, it's been a volunteer job for that faculty advisor. So, it's having the support of the school behind them too, because K-Kids ends up being more of kids leading the school in service. So it's a real powerful tool that, once a principal kind of sees what it's all about, I think they're real pumped up. But again, it's getting into the schools, getting those contacts, and really finding a passionate, not only a faculty advisor, but that Kiwanis advisor who's willing to really partner and team with that faculty advisor.
Can I ask, thank you so much, Becky. You have lots of experience in the schools and working, in really creative ways, especially through the pandemic, to make sure that K-Kids survived in your community.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you all could take just a minute and put in the chat what you think some kind of key characteristics are of successful and effective Kiwanis advisors. I'm going to capture that and send that back in my notes to you. And if anyone would like to verbally share, I know that wasn't one of our questions, but it would be great to hear what you think.
So Luana, you said key characteristics of what?
Key characteristics of Kiwanis advisors. And now, I guess in saying that, I mean, a traditional Kiwanis advisor, I know that there are places where the Kiwanis advisor really functions as a faculty advisor because there isn't a faculty member that's interested, and there's a Kiwanian who's connected somehow as a parent or grandparent or other roles. So a traditional Kiwanis advisor where there is a faculty advisor.
Right, because the standing joke right now is I'm the Key Club advisor for our club.
You got a lot of jobs.
Well, the thing was, at least with me, a lot of the kids that are at the high school were feeder club, is a feeder school from our elementary school. So one of the girls running for vice president is a past K-Kid president from my elementary school where I was a faculty advisor.
Okay.
So I'm just still hanging out with those kids, just in the high school.
So I see punctuality and commitment, responsiveness, key care, willing to talk to anyone. Okay, Chrissy, can you explain what you mean by that? There's a story there. Oh.
She's re-entering the room here.
Yeah, I see that. Christy, I'm sorry, I asked, can you explain what willing to talk to anyone means?
I just got my microphone to work, so I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
My name's Christy. I am here in Virginia. I have experience in all kinds of different areas. I'm a Builders Club school sponsor. I am the Kiwanis advisor to our Key Club here. I am the DA, obviously, for K-Kids. So I've got a K-Kids job, Builders Club job, and a Key Club job on top of being a Kiwanis member. So the willingness to be able to talk to anybody it's those connections, being personable and being able to walk in and say, hey, we have this great thing. Let's chat. Let me share. And get them into a conversation to talk about all of the benefits that we can do that. I'm also a teacher.
Ah, thank you. That's helpful. I also see actively involved in the K-Kids Club, keep in touch with the faculty advisor. We really appreciate that. We do not have connections at KI. We do not have connections with the clubs. Like our connection is through you. And a little bit through the Kiwanis advisor, I'm sorry, through you to the Kiwanis and faculty advisors. So we appreciate that. Attends meetings and participates with the faculty advisor, enthusiasm about service, leadership, positive attitude, energetic, good listener, good communicator. Y'all have done my work. Like you've developed half of the Kiwanis advisor description. Thank you. I do want to get back to a question just before we ask the next question. Jeff, you asked, and I just want to make sure because this might be questions someone else has. Where are the resources and the costs for chartering? So if you go to the Discover, if you look up at the, if you go to the K-Kids website, and one of the navigation bar selections is Discover. If you go to the Discover page, it kind of teaches people about what K-Kids is about. And there are 2 or 3 different places on that page where you can click on Start a Club or Charter a New Club. That takes people to the Kiwanis page that is about starting clubs. And then at that point, they have to make a selection. Are you a Kiwanis club that wants to sponsor a club, or are you a school or a youth organization? So hopefully that explains, Jeff, or anyone else who was wondering where those things are. Thanks, Matt. Matt put a direct link from the K-Kids website in the chat. Okay, next question. What have been your biggest challenges in your work to start clubs? And if you want to put some in the chat, that would be great. Biggest challenges. And if anyone would like to share, that would be great. And I think, Becky, you mentioned the challenge of getting into schools, and it's kind of strange because the pandemic seems so far away, but yeah. This
year they've opened up, but
yeah. Barb, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I had the opposite problem because I'm muted. No, I'm not. Okay, I'm chartering. My district clubs are chartering left and right. But I have one club that, and you touched on it a bit, I can't find a Kiwanis club. I've been working on this since November to try and get a club to sponsor this school. And the club that would do it has too many K-Kids already, and they don't want to take on another one. And there's another that is not, I guess, active enough to do it. So it's a matter of logistics. So I have to come up with a plan to tell this guy. I don't want to call him and say, gee, I can't find anybody to charter you. So I got to figure out a plan, like what to tell him and how to flip that negative into a positive.
Thank you, Barb. Others?
I just want to piggyback. Barb, do you have any key clubs in the area that would maybe be willing to sponsor? Our key clubs are always very involved with our K-Kids. And I was just at the Key Club convention here, district convention, and was speaking to Key Club members about that. Is that a possibility for you in your area?
But it would be a Kiwanis club that would have to sponsor, and the Key Club helps, from what I understand. It wouldn't be a Key Club itself that would do the sponsoring. Am I correct?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was looking at the chat. Yeah, what was the question?
Okay, my question is I know that Key Clubs can help out, but it was my understanding that a Key Club cannot sponsor unless the Kiwanis club is involved in doing so. So in other words, a Kiwanis Club would sponsor, and then the Key Club would have the students come over and help. That was my understanding. And then I mean, I could look into that, but I also
Well,
have logistics too.
actually, Matt's here. So Matt, actually, that's why you're here. It's not Candid Camera. We did plan that for you ahead of time. It is Candid Camera. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll have you know that I just looked up on Builders Club. It says that Kiwanis Key Clubs and Circle K Clubs can co-sponsor a Builders Club with the help of a Kiwanis Club.
Yeah.
So it looks like they do need to work in tandem
Co-sponsor.
together.
And I don't know if there's a fiscal sponsorship there, like the club could decide that they make a partial contribution. Do you know, Matt? Or if it's a service, really a kind of a service relation and mentoring relationship.
I mean, I would expect that each key club makes that decision individually. I mean, sometimes, it's not unusual for key clubs to raise money for not only charity organizations, but for service projects and things that they're doing. And I don't know why they couldn't raise funds on behalf of a Builders Club or a K Kids.
Thank you.
And Barb, just real quick before you jump off that, Barb, do you guys have any internet-based or virtual clubs in your district? Like in the Rocky Mountain District, we have the Rocky Mountain E Club that spans the entire district and people from other states. And I know that they're a potential opportunity for a backstop if we don't have a local club. I don't know if you guys have anything like that, or if there's even bigger virtual clubs out there that span multiple districts, but that might be an opportunity to find a sponsor too.
That's a good idea. I mean, Florida's a different animal, so I've got to look. There aren't any virtual clubs that I know of, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any. It's just a lot of us, we stopped meeting briefly for COVID, but we never, most of the clubs never went completely virtual. But that's a good question to ask, to find out. Because I didn't think of that as an option of having a virtual club sponsor a K Kids. I'd still have to go around and try and figure out with the principal how they would get the support from Kiwanis other than monetary.
Well, I was thinking more about your partnership with your Key Club, right? So if you did have a Key Club that was willing to help out, and then you just needed a Kiwanis Club to be sort of the bigger sponsor, that could be your like co-sponsor opportunity.
So it'd be a Kiwanis Club from one division and a Key Club from another.
Well,
Well, I
they wouldn't
think
have to
Michelle-
be from different divisions, but I would just think if your local Kiwanis Club won't do it because they have too many, and you had like some sort of other opportunity for the Kiwanis side of it, you could maybe cover it that way.
So it seems
Okay.
like what you're talking about is some creativity around where you get this, the different components of support for a school that wants to create a club. So in that situation, Michelle, it might be just financial sponsorship, right? And then you'd want to make sure that the faculty advisor had some support, maybe within both from Key Club and more than one person in the school that's really supporting the club potentially. So that's really creative. Michelle, can you put that suggestion in the chat box so I capture it? Just for kind of, here's some alternatives.
That's a good suggestion. I like the virtual. I didn't even think of that.
There are a couple of kind of challenges in the chat, and before we move on, if you could kind of explain what you mean by them. Zelma, you mentioned background checks. What's the challenge? Is it just getting background checks done?
Good evening all. The challenge that I have is that the Kiwanis advisor are of the opinion that the background check is a requirement that is coming from you as district administrator, or the district wants them to have the background check. So it's a challenge that we are having. And two, when the background check is expired we are not notified that the background check is actually expired from, say, yourself, Luana. We have to make a request to find out the list of background checks for the period, whatever. And
Yes.
background checks are not done as Kiwanis year. It is done throughout the year.
Yes,
So it's
Yes.
a challenge trying to keep track of background checks, say every month, every year, every 6 months. But then when you reach out to them now, if you get a list to reach out and you told them that the background check is expired, it is like difficult again to ask them to, let
Thank
us know
you.
so that we could arrange to have the application sent to them.
So you've brought up several things, so let me speak to our staffing around background checks. There've been staff changes, and
Yes.
you have a pretty new kind of team that's fully built now for the most part in the SLP staff. Our team is now we have someone, we've just hired someone who's responsible for background checks. As you know, I've communicated with you all, and thank you to those who have completed their Presidium training. One of the things that makes Kiwanis SLPs distinctive is that we have very serious kind of youth protection policies and expectations. And that starts with us and you to the advisors, right? Anyone who's in contact with and who's at any youth events, to the Kiwanis clubs where they have volunteers. And we know from things that have happened in other organizations that that it's our responsibility to take care of kids. So a message to your schools, to your clubs, is no matter what their background checks and youth protection policies are, if they want to be a Kiwanis affiliated, they have to participate.
Yes.
And
Another what is happening now is that in recent times with our days meeting within the Caribbean, we would have asked for this same request that is here now, that the secretary knows who are the persons with the expired background checks, because it's on the secretary's dashboard. But I realize what happens now is that, for instance, if I want to send an application, say I am just a Kiwanis advisor, and I apply for a background check to background checks, it is not honored. So then they come to us at the district. So what we do then is that we send the email to background checks, and I realized then that when we send it from the district, as a district administrator, the link is sent very fast.
Zelma, I'm wondering if we can talk about this offline, like
Sure.
maybe next week, and we can talk through some of what your issues are. I know that sometimes sometimes in other countries, there are some more issues that we don't necessarily have in most of the US for the US clubs or school districts. But so I think it's important to understand what the issues are that you're having, how we can better serve you, and also if there are some practices that we need to implement to help DAs. So if you could connect, if you can, my email will be at the end, both in the chat box and at the end of the presentation. If you can connect with me, we'll have a conversation if it's possible for you next week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Or sooner if you need that.
No problem. Thank
Okay, thank you. Michelle, you talked about faculty advisors. Can you talk about that just for a minute?
All the Kiwanis clubs that are trying to start new K-Kids clubs across the district are unable to get a faculty advisor at the schools where they are trying to start them. That we've got 8 of them right now that cannot find a faculty advisor. They've been working on it since August.
And if the schools or the school districts are not incentivizing that, I mean, it's easiest when it's incentivized, and but that's not standard, especially at K-Kids, as we heard.
Yeah,
Jackie mentioned, yeah.
what we talked about, what I'm trying to get them all to work on this semester is they're all coming up with funds in their budgets to see if they can come up with financial incentives to get some teachers and staff on board.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that. Of course, that's the faculty advisors, kind of the heart of the clubs. It's so incredibly important, and their enthusiasm and their kind of working with what we provide for them, and working with their sponsoring clubs, is that relationship, that is, all those things are key to the success of the clubs we've found. Just a few more things, places to start clubs. Currently working with facility for at-risk boys to start a K-Kids club. That's really creative. Thanks for that, Paul. Okay, thanks for your other input. I will go ahead and send you feedback. So the final question, and I'm just going to give you a time check. It's 4:55. These are two kind of big topics. I'm going to go through the rest of the presentation about awards. If you have to hop off and can't stay till 5:15, then please, you can go ahead and check out the PowerPoint or the recording that will be on the administrator page at the end of the week. So the last question I'll ask is, what support or resources or tools do you think that you need for new club growth work? And if you want to add those to the chat, and if anyone wants to mention tools that they need. As I mentioned, we will be creating faculty advisor and Kiwanis advisor, responsibilities, kind of a flyer, and sharing those with you. Oh, good.
Michelle really liked the tools we got in Vegas on the thumb drives.
Excellent. Thanks, Michelle. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get back to information about awards and recognition. And sorry, if you give me just a second, you cannot see my screen, can you? Okay. Now can you see it?
Yeah, if you just want to maximize it and then I think restart the presentation mode, that would be best.
Got it. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you. What we ask is that you remind your club advisors and share information with them about award opportunities. All award submissions must be completed online using the proper award forms. For awards information, visit the K-Kids website and the website address is right there, KiwanisKids.org/awards-and-recognition.
And I
So
put
as you
that
can
in
see-
the annual achievement report link in the chat.
Thank you. We encourage through the K-Kids Advisor Guide and through our communications that advisors are intentional about reviewing the awards at the awards information, and particularly the annual achievement report criteria at the beginning of the year and kind of planning for that. We encourage them to involve their officers in the process of keeping records that show that they meet the criteria of particularly the annual achievement report, but also that they keep records of officers and what they've done, or advisors if they're going to be nominating them for awards. So here's just a kind of a snapshot of what they can add to their planning. Always, it's important that photo releases are signed at the beginning of the year. If you have regular communications with your advisors and you have a calendar for doing that, we encourage you at the beginning of the year to remind advisors to make sure that they distribute the consent releases that are ours. That has nothing to do with any photo release forms that they would have their parents or guardians sign that are connected to the school. We have to have them sign ours. So I know that there's been that question before at the beginning of the year, and that allows you as well to post things for the district or for the club to post items. And here are the awards opportunities. Distinguished Club Officer. If there is a club officer who deserves to be recognized because they really have had kind of outstanding leadership and fulfilled in an outstanding way, fulfilled the responsibilities of their particular responsibilities of their position, then we encourage them to be nominated. And when it comes to nominations, any member, fellow club officer, one of the advisors, or a district administrator may nominate a club officer. And I'll say the same thing for distinguished club advisor, which I'll show you next. They can be nominated also by DAs. So if you just want to kind of think about that and keep that, you may have relationships with clubs or your Kiwanis advisor, or you may have a relationship with your Kiwanis advisors who really see what's going on in the clubs. And so nominations can come from them as well. There is no limit as to the number of club officers selected per district. So a club officer, multiple club officers can be nominated per club in each position. Now, Matt, maybe you could answer that question. I know that there are some clubs that have multiple presidents, like that rotate through presidents or secretaries. I don't know if Key clubs are like that, and they're unusual, but there are some. I have talked to some K Kids or Builders Club advisors. I don't have the answer to that question though.
What's the specific question?
Whether two presidents from a club could be nominated. I think it would just be one president. Yes.
I'm not aware of Key clubs having multiple presidents.
Of course.
Or officers.
So I actually will put that in the email as well. All nominations are due May 1st for both the Distinguished Club officer and the Distinguished Club advisors. With the advisors, one thing to keep in mind with advisors and officers is they may not nominate themselves. Okay. All of the winners will be announced by Kiwanis International no later than May 15th on social media channels and in the May monthly newsletters. We encourage you to share that information once you see on social media, and maybe if your district has a website, to share that information.
The one I missed, Barbara's question. She was asking if it was a faculty or Kiwanis advisor.
Oh, either can be nominated. Both can be nominated. They can nominate each other. Thanks, Barbara. The annual achievement report. The annual achievement report is the way that Kiwanis International and our staff know what's going on, and is the key way that we know what's going on in clubs. We encourage you to encourage your clubs to complete their annual achievement report. The more they can tell us through that, because sometimes they add attachments and images and that type of thing, the better we can tell their stories. So the reports, we're taking the reports anywhere between May 1st and June 10th. Schools close at different times, and the school calendar is different places. So the annual achievement report is completed online and can be completed by officers or members with the help of their advisors. It's actually a self-scoring report, and you'll see from this that that it actually is a scored report, and that to be considered a distinguished club, the report has to show an earning of 15 points or more, and an honor club between 10 and 14 points. And it's based on the answers to those questions. Here are some sample questions on the report. Did the club host an installation ceremony for new members? Were club officers elected during the last couple of months of the school year, or the previous school year, or the first couple months of the new school year? So were club officers actually elected? And not all clubs elect them, but those that do, and in that time frame will get a point for that. Did the club secretary keep minutes? Did the club use the service resource that we provide, the idea guide? Did club officers receive training? So all of these things will earn 1 point, and you saw the point scoring that I showed you previously. The digital award, so just so that you know that in the past this has been done differently, we've moved to digital recognition. So the clubs are notified of the awards, or the recipients are notified of their awards, and they are sent digital letters, badges, etc., that can be posted online on their websites. That can be recipients can be emailed a digital copy that can be printed into hard copy on nice paper and used in a ceremony. Some clubs do that, but hear me please, not all clubs do that. And so we've had to make the decision of moving some things digitally, but not all things digitally. And this is one of the things that the pandemic was part of helping us decide, but not only. A lot of things are moving digital. There are digital badges used in schools and that type of thing. So anyway, just so that you know, that's how recipients receive their awards. And we, of course, will post the listing of award recipients on the K-Kids website, and again in the newsletter and social media. Do I have a question? Oh, no. Just asking you to please promote your clubs when they win on social media using at Kiwanis Kids. And any questions?
I just have a question. How does everybody else communicate with their advisors, the Kiwanis and their faculty advisors? If I tell you, I probably have a list of a couple hundred people that I send emails out. I just wanted to know if there was an easier way, if anybody was successful. I have a few people that end up communicating with on a regular basis, but otherwise sometimes I feel like I'm just herding cats.
Anyone have a thought for Barbara?
This is Paul out of Texas, Oklahoma. Those apps like GroupMe and things like that work really well when you've got large numbers of people, because then when you share with everybody, if somebody's got a question or a comment, everybody gets to see it and it's instantaneous.
Paul, can you put that in the chat, please, that you use GroupMe and what you use it for? Thank you for that. Sorry, Barbara.
Alrighty.
Okay, anyone else have a suggestion for Barbara?
Well, one of the things that we've done for our district administrators at Key Club that it has been working well is that we created a Google Drive. You might also use Dropbox or something that doesn't require a Google email address, but like a shared drive system that we can upload all the relevant documents to. I post a weekly update that has all of our most current information on things like our convention registration and stuff. And I know that it would be different for you guys, but whatever your bank of current information is, we upload it all into a central shared drive. And that way people don't have to go through and search all their email for, something very specific. They can just go to that shared drive and mostly find the information they need there.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, well, just wanted to share again our contact information. That's my email address as well as Lisa's. And to remind you to tag Kiwanis on social media posts. And if there's anything specific, any specific kind of suggestions, ideas, or challenges that you've had that you want to discuss, please do reach out to me and to Lisa, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. And a reminder for those of you who haven't completed your Presidium training, please do. We're not close to 100% compliant yet, so thank you so much.
And I just wanted to say, I know that several of you have mentioned that you work with your Key Clubs locally, and so I just want to thank you very much for that work. As is with Builders Club, our Key Club advisors are really critical to our success. So thank you so much. My email address is very similar to Luana and Lisa's. It's just my first initial and last name. So mellis@kiwanis.org. If you guys ever need anything Key Club related, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thanks for all you do for us.
Oh, and I'm sorry, one last thing. We will be having what we're calling a new DA, new administrator crash course. So we're just going to be going through things pretty quickly, showing resources and that type of thing. I believe it's in May, but I'll send that information as well in the email, and a refresher. So those of you who sometimes we just don't ask questions because we feel like we should know it by then, so please do join us if you're interested. We'll send out information about those two events. Thanks so much, Matt, for helping out and really sharing information about Key Club and your experiences. And it's great to see all of you. Hope you have a good evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you.
Great,
Thanks,
thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.